Okay, I want to put some intercostals in here. To do that, we're going to have to tame, or we're going to, no, not necessarily. We're going to tame down this actually rib cage. When I say tame down, I basically mean we're going to make it so that it makes us be able to blend these intercostals in better than what we would have. So I'm flattening this out. Flatten this out here. And what we can do is, oops, we can grab and pull, readjust things. Let's flatten this out. And yeah, it looks kind of strange there. We'll deal with that. Let's try. Can we use smooth it all here? To get even more, we can use, oops, not that, the scrape brush. Will actually give us a more drastic, which in this case is what we, looks like actually what we need for what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to take the Blob Brush, we can play around, you know, to a certain degree because we are working on a thing that doesn't exist. We can, you know, play around and say, oh, it's like this because of, you know, so and so. But, you know, you generally want to have, since it's a humanoid creature, you know, looking somewhat like human anatomy. So I'm trying to have these do like kind of a flow. As far as working with intercostals and stuff, I learn them, remember them, you know, forget them, relearn them. It tends to be how it goes. So I'm putting lines in to try to have them like work towards blending in to those ebbs. So here, the intercostals kind of work like teeth, if you will. Like come in between each other. So that's what I'm trying to do there. We can grab this stuff, push it and pull it. Let's give some, oops, inflation here. Kind of like a love handle kind of deal. And what we can do here, oops, we want to use that scrape. Just like flatten them. When you flatten, you kind of give like, it's weird when you flatten, you're kind of giving something, in a sense, an edge while you're flattening it. A different way of thinking. Like, I'm flattening it, but I'm also, by flattening, giving this an edge to this, making an edge to that. So I'm going to keep using that scrape. I'm actually going to use it here. And here I'm thinking of getting an edge that we can smooth out later if we want, but it's giving me a quick edge. I'm going to go to the arm, go to inflate. I'm going to blow up this deltoid here. And I say blow it up, I'm going to increase the mass here. I'm going to take the crease brush and dig in that deltoid. Nope. Crease brush, there we go. Basically bringing this down to a point. I'm kind of going to come up to like having a point over here. For the tricep as well. I'll put those. Decrease the brush. It's so quick to do. I'm just adding some more definition to there. Same thing, the bicep, we're increasing that. And increase the brush to make this bigger. I'm going around here. I'll increase the size of the tricep. I remember one of the nice things with sculpting, we can push and pull to get what we need. Thinking of the form there. So we'll go to the crease brush, press F to shrink this down. So we want to have that bicep, you know, this forearm muscle like coming over. Fun. I think it's fun. Putting in like where the brachialis muscle would be at. I'm going to go to the grab brush, press F. Sometimes it's easier to increase size just by grabbing instead of using the inflate brush. That's what I'm doing there. Press F to shrink the brush down. I'm going to hold them in the mouse button to rotate the view. We'll go to the crease brush. The tricep kind of has like a V shape to it. I'll zoom in on it. We can get the, you know, general muscles in for the body and then come back. A lot of this stuff, you know, depending on how humanoid you want your character to be, is reference, you know, knowing anatomy or using reference, or how, depending on how far you want it to be off, you know, making up how you want it to look. So here we'll go back to, we're on the crease brush. Zoom into the leg. Start cutting in how we want the quadricep to look. Thinking about that middle muscle. The quadriceps typically there's a thing called teardrops. One thing interesting I found about sculpting teardrops is I find that it works good to like get in the basic shape and then drag them to make them look like they're going over the muscle, over the knee. So like I'm putting in the basic shapes for the teardrops, right? Kind of like goes back like this, and I mean it does look like a teardrop. And this is that good old Vastus Mialis piece there. So these are short. You would have your sartorius muscle coming here. You don't have to get. I like working with muscles, playing around with them. These will probably be changed. We'll probably smooth over this, so don't, as you're doing this, don't get too into it, because we'll probably smooth out a bunch of these. I'm just going to increase the size on those quadriceps. Then what I'm going to do is go to the grab brush. Press F. I'm going to pull those. Actually, this is a good part to show you the mask brush. So I want to pull the quadriceps over the knee. So what I'm doing here is I'm masking out the knee. I'm protecting the knee from being affected, right? And then from me protecting that knee in this area here, because whatever has the mask on, I won't be able to move. A little bit of mask on there. I think it should still be fine. I'll go to the grab brush. So now I can increase the size here and pull this. All right, so I'm going to hold control. Because the mask is affecting it. So when I hold control, hold control, I take away the mask. I'm just taking that off of the quadriceps there. So now I'm going to go back to grab brush. Whoops. F. Just pulling this out. Not too much, but over that knee somewhat. I'll go to the inflate. Daggone it. Inflate. There we go. Inflate this some. Matter of fact, I'll go back to the grab brush. I'll select here to drag that down some. See if I can use smooth there. That won't work, so I'm going to need the, let's try flatten. Make somewhat. And I'll hold Alt M to take away that mask. I'll zoom in, go to the crease brush, hold them in the mouse button to rotate. I'll just add some definition around the knee. I'll press F to shrink this. Go anterior tibialis there. And we'll, refine this more as we go along more. I go to object mode. Lower this down. It still looks pretty much the same. At 2. Hold the mouse button to pan. I'm going to go to flatten to smooth this out some. Actually, I'm going to use the inflate to put some mass in here. The way I go through my process, I add detail in, I kind of smooth everything out again. That's what I was saying. Don't get, too caught up in the detail, because I tend to smooth and then go back, and I use this smooth modifier because it just tends to speed things up. So the back is an interesting thing. It's like a, kind of like a V with the neck. And again, one of the nice things about making this creature thing is you can play around with the back. In bodybuilding, there's a thing that you hear people talking about called the Christmas tree, and that's kind of like right here. I'm trying to get that like triangular kind of Christmas tree shape going on here. I'll dig in here. I'll hold the mouse button. I'm just separating the calf muscles here. Okay, so I have those details, and what I'm going to do now is kind of like try to keep a zoom back view and just do like fairly, I guess you would say, like, I want to say like bigger far from view adjustments, if you will. Just taking a general look at everything and grabbing and pulling muscles and shapes, realizing that we're going to continue to change things. I'm going to press F. Pull this in here. Pull this out some here. Like grab this, push this in here. Okay, I'm going to go to object mode. Take this down. Okay, so that's what it looks like without this. I didn't think that. I'm surprised it's giving as much detail as it does, like this. This is down at 171,000 triangles. So I'm actually going to apply this. Just taking a look. Okay, what we're going to do is start working on this head. So I'm going to zoom the mouse, roll the mouse to zoom in. I'm going to select this bottom piece to bring this down. The reason why I'm bringing this down is easier to work with things as far as teeth, things like that. I'm pressing R to rotate on the X-axis here. I'm going to select this, bring this down. This piece here, I'm going to delete. I'm going to select this piece, hold shift to select these two pieces, bring them forward like that. I'm going to select this bottom piece, push that down. Back slightly. I'm going to select this top piece here, go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. I'm going to go to the grab brush. And what I want to do is make this less squarish. So I'm going to press F to increase the size of the brush, I mean. Bring that out like that. There we go, more like that. Rolled the mouse, it gave me like that pop. Select here, go to sculpt mode. I'm going to do the same thing. Control A, rotation and scale. I'm also going to push this in like that. Out some like that. Press F to shrink the size of the brush. Okay, what I'm going to do now is go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to select, well, this is already selected. I'm going to hold shift, select here. I'm going to select here and then select this last. With all of those selected, with this being selected last, this is the active object. I'm going to hold control and then press J. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the right till we see that green triangle. We have the voxel remesh here, so we're going to select the voxel remesh. And then we'll go to the wrench. Smooth modifier. Take this to 1. Take this to 10. We'll apply this. Right click here, select shade smooth. Taking a look. Now we're going to go to the upper left and then go to sculpt mode. Okay, we'll come out so we can apply the modifier. Control A, apply the rotation in the scale, sculpt mode. One of the brushes that I find very useful is this elastic deform. Allows you to change shapes fairly easily without, it just keeps the forms looking fairly nice. Using this to make the mouth wider. I want there to be like density here. So what I'm going to do, more mass there, I should say. I'm going to press F to change the size of the brush. I'm going to go here. What I want is I want like more mesh here. So I put the mask on. I'm gonna hold Control, press I. This inverts the mask. So now I'm gonna go to the Blob Brush. I like the Blob Brush because it works fast. Increase the size of the brush. So then now we have this extra mask here. I'll hold Alt, press M. When you're working, you see things like this, like don't let it like get to you too much. And what I mean is we'll probably smooth this out a few times. So, when you have some imperfections, the smooth modifier and pressing F to shrink the size of the brush will help you, work as far as getting rid of issues typically. That's what I find anyway. Okay, I'm going to go to the mask brush again. What we're going to do is draw in some eye sockets. I'm going to decrease the size of the brush. I'm going to draw in these eye sockets. Now you see that how like this looks kind of like fuzzy almost. I'm going to hold Alt, press M. I'm going to go to the remesh and I'm going to change this to 0.05. Press Enter. Then do voxel remesh here. Can't do shade smooth here, so can I? Shade smooth. The reason why I did that was I want this to be nice and clean. See how much nicer that is now. So we're making the eye sockets here, right? I'm also going to, I want to bring up geometry like for the center part here. So that's what this is. I also want to put in like some brow geometry. So I'm just drawing that out, and that should allow me to fairly easily work putting those in. So I'm going to hold Control, press I, invert it. So now the mask, wherever you see the areas where the mask isn't, now I can work with them. So I like my Blob Brush because it's quick. So I'm going to hold Control. Remember, when you use a brush, it typically comes out like it's showing like this bubble thing is coming out. When I hold Control, the opposite of this happens. So when I hold Control, you go in instead of out. All right. So I'm going to hold Control, left click, and I'm using this to basically dig in. And I'm being careful with that little thin line that I have for the eye. I let go, right? Because I find if you keep trying to like go in, Blender stops basically. So I'm going to hold Control. When I say stop, stops like going in deeper. I'm going to hold Control again, left click again. Then it seems to like almost like restart in a sense. So I wanted to dig in for the eye sockets. Actually, I want that deeper. One more time. So I let go Control and the left mouse button to just, continue what I was doing just to get a deeper hole as far as the eye socket. So now what I want to do is I want to bring the mask up here. I'm going to press F to make this higher. It's giving me geometry there. It's giving me geometry here. That's what I want. So now I'm going to hold Alt and press M to get rid of the mask. Okay, so I'm going to go to the inflate now because I don't want quite as much speed work as we were getting before. I'm trying to make like this top piece thicker here. I think I'm going to use the grab brush, press F. Make this longer. When I'm looking at this, I like for like lizard mouths to like kind of come in here. Like this kind of is like more pointy, and then I like for this part to come out. It's kind of what I did with like the bottom jaw there. So I'm adding mass just by dragging this down here. This does look very weird. So even that what I was saying off. Kind of like, there we go. Still have the mask that I want. Now we're going to go to the mask brush. Press F to shrink our brush. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm drawing the mask so that we have space set up for when we put our teeth as well as gums in here. So now I'm going to, not now, I'm about to. All right, I'm going to hold control. I'm holding control, pressing I. So now I'm going to go to the Blob Brush. I'm holding control. And by doing that, I am able to push in. I'm going to let go of control, hold control again, just because it seems to allow Blender to let me go deeper. I'm going to rotate so I can see the edge right here. Holding control, left clicking. Don't want to go too deep. You don't want to go through the mouth. So what I'm going to do now is hold Alt, press M. That takes away the mask. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the top. So we're going to select the mask. We're just getting an angle where we can see, you know, the mouth, so we can make room. Be careful about getting too edgy. You want to make sure you have like some space here. So if you, I'm actually going to hold Alt and start over. So give yourself enough room from the edge. Be careful of that. All right. So now I'm going to hold control, press I inverted the mask. Go to my Blob Brush, hold control, then left click. I'm digging in. Be careful you don't go too far. I'm rotating, which allows me to better see like what's going on in the 3D space. Paying attention to like the edges here. I'm going to actually hold Shift and left click. Let's smooth that out some. Now I'm going to hold Alt, press M to get rid of that mask. Okay, I'm holding the mouse button to rotate the view. You can zoom in smoother by going to this upper right magnifying glass. And I go to that. This elastic brush really is nice because you can change the shape fairly easily of things. So see how I just brought up like the eye sockets, like change very quickly. This the elastic brush seems to allow you to fairly safely change shapes. I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I don't think I want this quite so pointy, so I'm going to go to the grab brush, pull that out some, like that. I'm going to go to the mask brush, press F to shrink the size of the brush, put in the nostril, about right there. Actually, well, I'm going to hold Alt M. I want more geometry. So we'll take this to 0.02, press Enter, do voxel remesh. Went back to object mode, mainly so I could turn on shade smooth. Now we're going back to sculpt mode. We're still on the mask brush. Hold the middle mouse button to get more of a side view, and now that's giving me what I want, which was a smoother mask. So now I'll hold Control I, go to the blob brush. I'll hold Control. I'll press F to increase the size of the brush. Hold Control to push in. So I let go. I let go of Control, then held Control as well as the left mouse button again. I'll hold Alt, press M. Okay, I'm gonna hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom in. I'm gonna take the mouse to pan. I'm gonna rotate the view here. I'm gonna use the blob brush. I'm gonna press F to decrease the size of my brush. I find that lines like around, when I say lines, see I'm making this raised piece around the nostril. That tends to work well with lizard type creatures. Same thing, I'm making this kind of like this raised area around the edges of the mouth. Just tends to work well with I'm gonna hold control as well as the middle mouse button. Add more here. I also find that the around here, it's good to have like this eye socket like piece here. Tends to work well. I'm going to go to the grab brush. I want to change the shape of the. I'm going to press F to change the shape of that eye socket. There we go. I'll hold control as well as the middle mouse button to zoom back. Press F to decrease the size of my brush. Press F and I just move the direction of the brush to change that. Okay, I'm going to hold control, zoom in, draw a mask here to protect this area so I can pull the brow down. Hold control as well as the mouse button to zoom back. I'm going to go to the grab brush, grab this brow, press F and make this bigger. There we go. I'm going to select over the hand, move that to the side. I'm going to hold Alt, press M to take away the mask. Press F to decrease the size of my brush. Okay, I'm going to actually use voxel remesh again, just because there was some stretching. Take the mouse to pan, left click to the side, rotate. I'm going to go to the elastic brush, pull that out to the side some there. Pull this out to the side some there. Pull that down even more. I want some detail here, so I'm going to go here. Put in like a depression here. Hold control, or mask there. Hold control, press I. Go to the blob brush so I can hold control and put a depression in here. Hold Alt, press M. Taking a look. Hold Control as well as middle mouse button to zoom back. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm going to go to object mode, select this, push this out. Some more like that. Select here, hold shift, press D, right click. That's not in the center anymore. Okay. Shift S. cursor to selected, select here, Shift S. I'm just making the object go to the cursor. So selection to cursor. So now this is directly in the center. It's giving us a geometry for the neck. And I'm just, what this is basically what's going on here. My thought process is, if I was rigging this character, the chest is here, but I would think the neck should be, the head should be able to look up, to pivot up more. So that's kind of my thinking, is putting in some mask for that. Left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to take the hand, pan over. I'm going to hold shift, right click to put the 3D cursor right there. I'm going to hold shift, press A to bring in a cube. Okay, shift A. There we go. There's our cube. I'm going to go to the upper left to go to edit mode. I'm going to right click, subdivide. I'm going to move to this subdivide menu, take the number of cuts up to 3. I want to scale this down almost so it's like this first row of cubes right there. So I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. Scale that down. S to scale on the Z axis. There we go, like that. Now I want to scale it this way, so I'm going to press S to scale on the Y axis. S to scale on the Y axis like that. Left click to deselect. Okay, there's a lot of stuff around this gum, so I'm going to go to here where you see View Global Local. I have this because I have the 3D Nav add-on set up and Edit User Preferences. So I'm going to select View Global / Local. So now we can just see this right here. I'm going to select Front View. I'm going to go to the upper right, select this wireframe button. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Face Select, press M for box select, go slightly past the middle line. Select there, press X, choose faces, and then take this back to solid view. And then I'm going to go to the modifier tab, select here, and then select mirror. Then I'll select this triangle so the mirror looks like it's on. Okay, we're in our front orthographic view. I want to be in a top view. I'm going to go to wireframe. I'm on face select. There's vertex edge as well as face select. I'm going to press B for box select. Select this face. Press R to rotate. The goal is to have, I'm going to go to the upper left for the move tool. The goal is to have, I'm going to press R to rotate some more. 6 segments that point backward. I'm going to hold control, hold the right mouse button. I'm on face select. I'm going to press E to extrude, right click, pull this out to the side, bring this up, press R to rotate. Each time I am bringing a segment out, I want to keep these segments basically the same size. And I want them to keep turning until they eventually point straight back. I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. I like taking the manipulator because it feels like I have more control. And I press S to scale on the Y axis 0. Then left click to lock in. What that did is that just made this be totally straight as far as going forward and back. I'm looking at the space here. I'm going to take the hand to pan the view. I'm going to press E to extrude, right click. Bring that out. Again, looking at the distance there. Press E to extrude, right click. Same thing. And basically what you want is 6 segments. So I'm going to left click and then go to solid view there. I'm going to hold the mouse button. Everything looks good. I'm going to take the hand to pan this up. When you're working on teeth and gums with this method, there was a while ago where I was trying to do very low polygon characters. And I was having difficulty getting the polygon count down, and surprisingly it ended up being the main thing that was causing the high polygon count was the teeth and the gums, which kind of surprised me. It was the modifiers that I had put on them. Just something to be aware of. Anyway, what we want to do here is we want to go to face select. We're on face select. We don't need these top facing these faces here, because we won't see them, so we can get rid of them. So I'm going to right click to get out of paint select, and I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu, and then choose faces to delete. Okay, I'm going to take the hand, pan up. Could have held shift as well as the middle mouse button. I just chose to do that. This right here has 4 groups of faces going down. You could have the same gum set up with 3. Just telling you that so you're aware of that. If you did that, you would just take away this row. I need to have like 1 row come out here, 1 row come out here, and this row to be in the middle. So there's just an option, to have absolutely the lowest gums, polygon count you could have. Anyway, I'm going to hold Alt, and then while I'm holding Alt, I'm left clicking, let go of Alt just now. I left clicked right here because I did that. I was able to select this entire group of polygons. So what I'm going to do is hold Alt, press S. That's a special kind of scaling. I'm going to hold Shift, and then I'm going to move up. And that special kind of scaling allows us to make things thicker. So now I'm going to left click to lock that thickness in. Left click on nothingness to deselect now. All right, I left clicked on nothingness to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do is hover over this edge right here. Hold Alt, left click, oh, missed it. Hold Alt, left click, there we go. Hold Alt again, press S. I hold Shift for fine control, and then move my mouse up. Then left click to deselect, or left click to lock that in. Now I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to right click here and select shades move. In the past, I would have put a subdivision surface modifier on here. It really increases the polygon count. I don't think it's worth it, since the teeth, you can't see them that well in the mouth. See the space here. We want to turn on clipping. When we turn on clipping, we go back to edit mode. We'll press A to select everything. Push the geometry towards itself. If you can see here, like this is kind of like bunching up there, right? As soon as we, with the clipping turned on, pull away from itself, now we'll see that this is joined, together. If I press A, which I just did, now we can see we can adjust this, and we don't have issues in the center there. So I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do is go to the upper left, go to object mode. I'm going to select front. I'm going to let's bring a I'm bringing in teeth. I'm just thinking of the we're in local mode, which we can see there. So I'm going to hold Shift, right click. Here's a 3D cursor right here. I'm going to hold Shift, press A. I'm going to bring in a cube. So here's the cube. Okay. Basically, when I was like pausing to think, I was thinking about mirroring this, because I definitely want to mirror this, and how I want to set this up as a mirror. Basically, this, we're going to mirror off of our origin point right here, right? So here is our origin point for this, right? So this is going to be the teeth. This is the gums. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select here, hold Shift, press S. I'm going to choose, wait a second. Let's go to view global / local. Okay, with this selected, I'm going to choose, hold Shift, press S. I'm going to choose cursor to select it. I'm going to select this cube, hold Shift, press S, and then I'm going to choose selection to cursor. You might sit there and say, why are you taking all this time to do this? And long story short, you're working in 3D, that center point tends to be very important. So with this center point right here, like with this, when we're in object mode, right, the origin point will remain where it's at. So what we can do is we can go into edit mode, and then in edit mode, the origin point will stay there even though I moved this to the side. So I can move this around in object mode while having the origin point here. So you might say, well, what's so important about having the origin point here? Well, you know, for temporarily for what we're doing, just to have things be easier, we're about to make teeth out of this. I want there to be a tooth on the other side. I want to put a mirror modifier, and I want the mirror modifier for now to mirror off of this, just so I can easily, you know, once we're done this, take the teeth that are going to be made from this square, as well as the gums, and move them over into our main mesh. Okay, what I want to do now is hover here, press L, right click, select subdivide. You're just subdividing one time. This is going to look strange for you. I just rolled the mouse wheel to zoom back. Get a smoother zoom. You can left click and drag here. And what I want to do is I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Vertex select this one vertex. I just rolled the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to push this one vertex down. I'll take the plus here to zoom in. Looks kind of strange there. Just fine for now. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect, go to the upper left, go to face select, press C for paint select all of those faces there, right click to get out of paint select, press X to bring up my delete button, and then choose faces to delete. Okay, when you look at this tooth, looks kind of strange. You want to work with this, put some modifiers on here, so we're going to go to add modifier. Remember, the origin point is right here. So I'm about to put a mirror modifier on. We should see this be mirrored right to the other side, just like it should be. So here's our mirror. There you go. And now for the tooth, we do want to use a subdivision surface modifier. The subdivision surface modifier makes this tooth, you know, look like a tooth. Left click, I'm taking a look. Left click on nothingness just to deselect. Okay, remember when we're in object mode, which we're in now, as long as we don't move these teeth in object mode, this origin point will stay here, which is important. So in object mode, to have the origin point stay here, we don't move the mesh that's making up the teeth in object mode. We select this, we go to edit mode. We can move this in edit mode because the teeth won't be affected. I mean, the origin point won't be affected by us moving the teeth. See this right here? We can select this triangle to the right. Oh, that's the mirror right here. Triangle, there we go. Just taking a look. We can make the teeth seem slightly sharper by selecting that vertex and pulling down like that. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, now I'll press A to select the teeth. Looks like teeth anyway, because we have the mirror modifier in there. I'm going to press S to scale this down. Move this up. Rotating the view so I can see, you know, what's going on in 3D. When you're working in 3D, typically you're going to have to rotate the view to actually see what's going on. Be careful when you push the teeth close together. Because of the clipping on there, you don't want those teeth to get too close to go past that center point so that they merge together. So I'm going to left click, open the mouse button, just taking a look. Or we're taking a look, maybe not just taking a look. Okay, let's press A, hold shift, press D, then right click, we duplicated the tooth, you know, still inside of the other tooth, so we pull this to the side like this. And once we have that basic tooth made up, it's fairly easy to deal with these things. These teeth I want to be forward, so I left clicked on nothingness. I'm going to hover here, press L. This is still selected. There we go. So I'm going to push these slightly forward. I want these teeth slightly back, which they are. I'll hover here, press L. Rotate the view so I can see what's going on. I rotate the view so I can see, oh, from this angle I can see better going back that way. So I'll hold Shift, press D, right click, bring this tooth back out to the side. I'm saying that, you rotating the view, because if you're new to 3D and you're like trying to look on like the one axis, you'll sometimes get into issues. Better for me to, say it a few times and have it get in your head so you can know it now. I'm going to press R to rotate on the Z axis. Oh, R to rotate on the Z axis. Just turn in this tooth, changing the angle slightly. All right, I'm going to hold Shift, press D, right click, bring this tooth back here. Press R to rotate on the Z axis, turn that tooth like that. Push this out to the side somewhat. I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I want the mouth to be longer. So I'm going to go to the gums, go into object mode. I'm going to hold middle mouse button to rotate, press S to scale on the Y axis. I'll pull down. That looks good to me. I'll left click to deselect, select the teeth, go to the upper left, and then go to edit mode. Okay, I want the teeth to be slightly longer, so I'll press A, select all the teeth, press S, press Z to scale on the Z axis, and then I'll pull down to make the teeth longer. I'll left click on nothingness, hover over this tooth, press L, hold Shift, press D, right click, pull that tooth back, hold Shift, press D, right click, and then pull the duplicate back, and then I'll left click to deselect. Okay, what we're going to do now is go back to object mode. We have these teeth, right? We'll hold Shift, select the gums there. With both of those selected, we'll hold Shift, press D, right click. We'll push down the duplicates like that. We'll press R to rotate on the Y axis 180. Then press Enter to lock in that rotation. So I'm pressing R to rotate 180 degrees. Essentially, I just made the duplicate of the teeth flip over to make this be the bottom jaw. Okay, what we want to do is hold Shift, select these other teeth as well as the gums. By holding Shift, we're we're able to select more than one object at a time. I'm pushing these over, moving in 3D so I can see what's going on. I'll draw a zoom box. Zoom box is a simple thing. However, as you notice working in 3D, you do a lot of zooming and rotating. The more efficiently you can rotate and zoom, the faster you'll be able to work. I'm going to press S to scale this down some, move this up. I'm going to rotate the view so I can see like what's going on as far as 3D space. Typically, to know what's going on in 3D space, you're going to have to look front to left. Just getting these placed in. I'll take the hand to pan, especially since I'm right next to the hand. I'll left click here to rotate since I'm right next to there. I'll left click to deselect. You're doing a teeth and the gums, all this stuff. You want to think about getting things in place. You can change them later. I'm saying that because you don't want to get too caught up in the details. So here I'm rotating just so I can get a piece of the gum, because I want to show the gums. So I don't want them two up. I want to have them be, somewhat seen. So I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis like this. Hold Shift like this. I want these to scale together, so I'm going to press S to scale on the X-axis like this. S to scale on the X-axis like that. So I'm looking here and I'm like, okay, I want these to be pretty much the same. So I'll hold Shift. Where's my gum? There we go. So I'm looking at this like this is thinner. I want this to be thinner as well. So that's the scale on the X-axis like that. Select here, hold Shift. Wrong. Shift. That's the scale on the X-axis. That's the scale on the X-axis. One thing that's interesting, when you put teeth inside a creature's head, and people, the teeth actually tilt this way. They actually don't go horizontal like you would think, like, oh, I'll put them perfectly horizontal, like make this horizontal with this. With people's teeth, the teeth actually point downward. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll select here, hold Shift, rotate it, let go of Shift so I can rotate. I'm holding Shift again to select these other teeth and the gums. And now what I'm going to do is press R to rotate on the X-axis like this. I left click to deselect. That's decent for now. Okay, let's give them some eyes. Hold them in the mouse button so I can get a view of this eye socket. I'm going to hold Shift, right click. I did that because I put the 3D cursor here. Reason why I want to put the 3D cursor here is where the 3D cursor is in Blender is where objects tend to come into Blender at. I'm going to move this to the side slightly. I'm holding Shift. I'm going to right click. There we go. I'm going to bring in a UV sphere. Should come right to where that 3D cursor is at. So I'll hold Shift, press A. This opens up our Add To menu. We'll go to Mesh, UV Sphere. There's the UV sphere. Press S and then scale this down. I find that when you're dealing with like creatures, lizard creatures, particularly, we'll push this forward some. It helps to have them be fairly small. Okay. Okay, remember when I told you about working in 3D, when you can duplicate things, go ahead and take advantage of the duplication. So we made teeth here, as well as a gum, to go with the teeth. And we duplicated it and went here. We're about to make, this is actually going to be an eyelid. We're going to make an eye. Take a wild guess what we can do with this to decrease our work. Yes, we can duplicate that to this side. So we'll work on this, get the work done. Once we get the work done, the plan is to just duplicate this to the other side. Okay, the current plan is to duplicate this sphere to make an eye, and then we'll use this as the eyelid. Once we do some work on that, then we'll duplicate that to the other side. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, so what we're going to do is hover here, hold Shift, press B. We'll draw a zoom box to zoom into the eye. We'll select the eye, hold Shift, press D to duplicate. I move my mouse to the side just so I know that this is duplicated. I right click this, that duplicated eye jumps back to its original position. It's still selected. So because it's still selected, I press S to scale, and then I press 0.9. You can see the outline there. I press Enter. What I did was I scaled that duplicate to 90% of the original sphere that we scaled it from, which is useful because this is going to be the eyelid. This is going to be the eye. This is going to be the eyelid. All right. So I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm going to select here the eyelid. I'm going to go to View Global / Local. I'm going to select Front. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. This 3D cursor is actually off. I'm gonna, with this selected, I'm gonna hold shift, press S, and then I'm gonna choose cursor to select it. That put the 3D cursor right there. That's important. I'm gonna go to edge select. I'm going to hold Alt, left click to select this entire edge here. I'm moving my mouse below this edge, right? With the that edge selected, I'm gonna press V, right? When I press V, now I move my mouse. See that? I've ripped the mesh from that line. So I'm going to right click to deselect, left click to deselect. I'll still have that edge there. Interesting. There. Oh, look at that. Okay, there we go. Okay, what we want to do now is we want to go to right view. We wanted the 3D cursor here so that we could go to the upper middle of the screen. This is the pivot point setting. We're going to select this, change this from the medium point to the 3D cursor. The reason why we wanted this pivot point changed to the 3D cursor is so that this top of the sphere can rotate with or rotate on this 3D cursor, which happens to be very similar to how an eyelid rotates on an eye. So with that being done, we'll go to the upper left. We'll go to face select, press L to select that. We'll press R to rotate. So we'll rotate this back like this. We'll left click, hover here, press L, move down here, press R to rotate. So then we'll rotate this down like this. So basically we're rotating so the eye can look out. We'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, I'm gonna go to front view. All right, I'll rotate so you can see this. So this is very thin. One of the things that's interesting about eyes is how thick eyelids tend to be. This is basically what we're working on here is eyelids. So we want this to be fairly thick. So we're gonna go to the upper left, go to object mode, left click. We can see how thin this is like that. Okay, one of the ways we can deal with the thinness of the eye is we're on the wrench, which is our modifier tab. We'll select here. We'll go to the Solidify Modifier, and what we're going to do is increase the thickness. That's what the Solidified Modifier does. So we have this very thick eyelid now, right? So what we'll do is select View Global / Local. So now we have, thickness of that eyelid. Now I want to make the eye smaller, so I'm going to press S to scale that eye down some like that. So I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. I'm going to roll my mouse back. We still have that empty there. So what we can do is let's select the eyelid. We'll select here. Go to the mirror modifier. We'll go to the empty object. We have all these empty, or objects, not empty, all these objects. We'll press E, M to search for the empty. We'll left click. Now that eye is selected over. Then what we can do is select the eyeball, right? Because the eyeball hasn't been moved yet. We'll hold shift, select the eyelid, hold control, press L, and then we'll select modifier. So now the eyeball had the solidify modifier as well as the setting as the empty, put on it to duplicate it to the other side. So we will, let's left click to deselect. Okay, we'll zoom back, take a look. So we see our creature, it's coming along. Right, so let's work on the hands. We're actually going to select here. Well, hands, and we'll work on, the areas we haven't worked on yet. We're going to select here. We're going to delete this. I recently was working on a way of it, doing the hands using a simple method, and it actually worked out fairly well. So that's what we're going to use here. Okay, so what we're going to do is hold shift, right click. We're going to put the 3D cursor there. The reason why we put the 3D cursor there is because objects tend to come into Blender where the 3D cursor is at. So we'll hold Shift, press A. This brings up our Add To menu. We're going to go, we went to Mesh, or on Mesh. We're going to select the cube to bring cube in. Let's go to front view, rotate so we don't see the reference image. Put the cube in, we're going to go to the upper left, go to edit mode. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect the cube. Okay, we want 4 faces near the bottom. We want the cube also smoothed out. So to do this, we're going to press A to select the cube, right click to bring up this menu. We're going to select subdivide. When we look at the subdivide menu, there's number of cuts. We take this to 2. We have 3 faces. We want 4. So we take this up. Again, we have 4. Now we're going to take this smoothness meter up, and this gives us a circular shape as well. That's what we want. So we're going to left click now to deselect. Okay, we're going to go to this pivot point up near the center, except for the 3D cursor. Let's turn this back to the default pivot point, which is the medium point. Okay, I'm going to show you, I think, a fairly easy and effective way to make things like fingers. I'm going to go through this quickly, and then I'm going to explain, just in case you get lost, once it's through. So I'll explain it as I go through it, then I'll explain a little extra as I get through it. I like the method. It's, in one sense, simple. It's very effective for making something complex like fingers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edge Select, hold Alt, select here, hover beneath that line, press V to separate that, go to Face Select, hover here, press L, press X, and then choose Faces to delete. All that was basically just to get rid of that. It was just the most efficient way I could think to get rid of it. You could use less efficient ways to get rid of it, like just selecting it with C and deleting. You would have the same effect, all right? That wasn't really the complicated thing I was talking about. I'm going to go to Edge Select, hold Alt, select here. When you press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, so that's S to scale on the Z-axis 0, which I didn't press yet. It's a useful way because the Z-axis in Blender goes up and down to flatten things out, all right? So it's S to scale on the Z-axis 0. So now I'm going to press S to scale on the Z-axis 0, and then I'll left click to lock that in. So I flatten that line out with that. Now I want to fill in this area here. There's a thing in Blender that lets you fill this area in easily. That's Control F, and then we're going to select Control F brought up our face menu select. Now we're going to select Grid Fill. Blender automatically filled that in, which is excellent. I'm going to left click to deselect. Okay, what we're about to do is do a fairly simple way of making things like fingers. To do this, we're going to go up to the center, to the middle of the screen. We're going to change the pivot point from the medium point, which is Blender's default pivot point, to individual origins. Okay, we're going to go to the upper left, go to face select. We're going to select here, select these 4 faces. We're going to hold Alt, press E, choose extrude individual faces, move up like that. Move this up like that. We'll choose Alt E, hold Alt E, extrude individual faces, move up like this again. Push this down some like that. We'll hold Alt, press E, choose individual faces, right click, press S to scale like that. Okay, the reason why what's going on here is because this is set for individual origins, and then I chose Alt E, extrude individual faces. We were ready to basically work on all these faces at the same time to form the basis of the fingers. Now we're about to make the claws that are going to come out of these fingers. Okay, I'm going to select here, hold Shift. Hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to press E to extrude, move to the right to bring that in. I'm going to hold Alt, press E, choose extrude individual origins, right click, press S to scale. Scale that down because I think the thickness around the claw does a lot. I'm going to press E to extrude, bring these claws out, Press S to scale them down like that, and then push them down so they're aimed towards the ground. Okay, the main thing to make this work is the individual origins as well as the Alt-E extrude on individual faces, and that lets you work with each of these as its own object. So the nice thing is because you have the selection, you're able to just keep working, keep extruding, and just fairly quickly, get this up and get it going, which is nice. When I say get it going, I mean shaping these finger-like these finger-like pieces of mesh here. Just hold the middle mouse button to rotate. Okay, so we're going to go to object mode. We're going to move this over like this. We're going to hold shift, press D, right click to duplicate this. We're going to select this, bring this back like this. Press S to scale. Scale this down. We'll press R to rotate on the Z axis like this. S to scale like that. Left click to deselect. We'll select here, move this over, move this up. We'll go to edit mode, roll the mouse to zoom in. We'll with face select on, we will hold Alt. We're going to, we're holding Alt, left click. I'm going to hold Shift as well as Alt, select there. Now I'm going to press C for paint select. I'm just trying to get the inside, all of that right there. So now I'm going to hold shift, press D, right click. I'm going to change this pivot point back to the medium point. So I have this duplicate here. I'll actually right click to get that to jump back into place. There we go. I'll just move this to the side here like this. Essentially making a thumb. I'll left click to deselect. Okay, I'm going to go back to the upper left to object mode. Okay, so I'm rotating 3D view, trying to see where I'm placing this thing at. I'll press S to scale. I'm going to draw a zoom box here. Hold shift, press B, draw a zoom box. There we go. That's the scale. R to rotate. Like this. Like that. Oops. Right click. It's kind of like an undo. Move this back like this. Left click to deselect. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Because I'm looking, I want this actually to be bigger, so I'll press S to scale to make that bigger, like that. Move the hand, make the hand slightly bigger. I think I'm good with that. left click to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do now is select the hand, go to the wrench, which we're on, select the mirror, go to the mirror object, put in EM to do a search, kind of a search in here for the empty. I'll select here, hold shift, select the second. This is the active object. So with that being the active object, what I can do is hold control, press L. This brings up our make links menu. Then I can select modifiers. So now I'm able to do, just have that apply it to here. So I'll select here, apply. I'll select here, I'll apply. I'll left click on nothingness to deselect. Okay, what I'm going to do is select here, hold shift, select here. While holding shift, select here. I'm going to hold control, then press J. These two objects are merged, or not merged. They're joined with the main body, but not merged with the main body. They still have their own internal parts, so that has to be dealt with. I'm going to left click on nothingness to deselect. Remesh makes this fairly easy to deal with. We're going to go to the green triangle. We're going to go to voxel. The voxel size, we're going to change this to 0.05, press enter, and then we're going to choose voxel remesh. We have a little on the hands here, in between the fingers. Which I think I'm good with that. Okay, so we have that. Let's go to, we've got these bumps. So to deal with them, let's go to the smooth modifier. We add the smooth modifier. Factor, we'll change this to 1. Let's change this to 10. It's kind of harsh on the hands. Let's change this to 5. Let's say 2. Okay, let's say 1. Nah. 2. Oh. There's 1. There's 2. 2 looks good to me. I'll select apply. I'll left click to deselect. One of the things I want to do is raise the arms up so that if we want to rig this later on, it's a little easier to work with. So I'm going to select the mesh, go to sculpt mode. Here in sculpt mode, I'm going to hold control, hold shift, and then I'm going to left click to draw a lasso select. I'm trying to be careful to go just for the arms. So now I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate, holding shift, control as well, shift, selecting the area right around the arms, control shift again, control shift again. Don't want that part there, so I'll hold control I, and then I'll hold control shift, and I'll select this part that I don't want. So that's, that's masked now. So I'll hold control shift. Oh, that line. Okay, I thought that was. So I'm just pressing control shift each time, trying to get what I want to move and take out what I don't want to have move. This part right here. So that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the pose brush. I'm going to press F, and I'm increasing the, see the diameter of this pose brush. So the line right there is trying to tell you like how the pose brush wants to move. So what you can do is you can move your mouse. You can I'm gonna go to the hand, pan down. You can adjust your view and the size. So if I shrink this, there you go. So now the pose brush is starting to do what I want. So I'm going to increase the size and move it. It's almost there. You kind of have to play with it somewhat. So I'll rotate the view. Rotating the view so I can rotate, you know, just rotate from what I'm looking at. Let's try this. That's good. These are parts that we didn't connect before. I press F to shrink the size of my brush. Then hold Alt, then press M to deselect. So this will make things much easier for us as far as rigging. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Object Mode, select this, and press X, and then choose Delete to get rid of that. Okay, most of our work is done. We need, clean up. Let's change the proportions of the face some. Now that I'm thinking about it, I want the head to be somewhat smaller. So I'm going to press S, shrink the head down. So I made sure that I selected the teeth, the gums, the eyes. So now I'm going to push the head back some and lift the head up some like that. I'll left click to deselect. I'm going to select the main mesh. Go to the upper left, go to sculpt mode. I'm going to go to our mask brush. There we go. I'll press F, shrink this down. Select right here. I'll take the hand, pan up, roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Select there. As well as here. Oh, there. I'll hold Alt. No, that's not what I want. I was about to press. Actually, okay. I'm selecting these areas. What I'm doing is I'm selecting these areas to make them easier to smooth. So now I'll hold Control, press I. And what I'm going to do is go to the scrape brush. I'm just left clicking again. I'm not quite dragging. For the most part, I'm left clicking. I dragged slightly. Pushing this in to flatten this. Same thing here. Now I'm left clicking and actually dragging here. I'll hold Alt, press M. So I'm left clicking, I'm dragging here like that. Taking the hand, moving this to the side. I'll left click here to turn, roll the mouse wheel to zoom. I'll hold here, hold Shift. Smooth that out. That connection there. I'll go to the crease brush. And the crease brush lets me fairly easily doing a better job than I expected. It's just pushing that mesh in. That's pretty good. We have this up here, which I didn't see. Holding shift, shift automatically goes to the smooth brush. I'm gonna left click and drag down to zoom back out some. Okay, I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate the view. I'm gonna hold control, hold shift. I'm dodging the bicep here. I'm grabbing the most of the forearm there. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to put some bend in the arms. Just thinking about rigging in the future. I'm going to hold control, press I. I'm going to hold control as well as shift. Left click to draw a lasso select to get that area that I missed. So now I'm going to go to the pose brush and I'm going to press F. The pose brush, when you work with it, it kind of works according to the size of the brush. And when I say the size of the brush, I mean that circle there. So I want to push these arms forward. I wanted just some bend in the arms. They were pretty straight. I think that's decent. We're on the mouse wheel to zoom back. And hold Alt, press M. I'll press F to decrease the size of the brush. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. Press F, shrink the size of the brush. Hold Shift. Just smoothing out this here. I'm just changing the brush just to get off of that pose brush so I don't automatically have something turn that I don't want to happen. Smoothing out this top part here. I'm going to go to that grab brush. Press F to grab to pull this in like that. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the Blob Brush. Press F, shrink this down. I'm going to hold Shift, press B, draw a zoom box here to zoom in. Roll the mouse slightly. I'll make this slightly bigger. It looks like I need more geometry. So this is 285,000 triangles. So what I'm going to do is go to the green triangle, and I have this currently set for 0.05. I'm going to go to, let's go to 0.04. Choose voxel remesh. So now we have 360,000. That's much better. So I'm just drawing these lines going towards the wrist and the hands. I'm going to take the hand to pan to the side. I'm going to hold Shift, press B to draw a zoom box right here. Similar thing here. I'm holding the middle mouse button to rotate. You don't have to be too careful here at this point, because a lot of this is going to be going over. You're going to look. I'll take the hand and then pan down. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left. Go to object mode, zoom back. I'm going to left click here, hold Shift, press D, right click, push this down. Press R to rotate on the X axis like this. Bring this down like this. Okay, I'm going to hover here, hold Shift, press B to draw a zoom box to zoom in. And the way this tail, the way I want it to go is to look like it's coming basically from the spine. I'm going to go to edit mode. There we go. So I'm selected on the tail. Now I'm in edit mode. So what I'm going to do is select this vertex, sorry. That's vertex as in singular. I'm going to press O to turn on the proportional editing tool. Press G so I can see the proportional editing tool. I'm going to press S and scale this down like that. Pull this back some like that. Now left click to deselect. Go to the upper left, go back to object mode. Zoom back. By rolling the mouse wheel to zoom back. Okay, I'm going to left click on nothingness, take a look. I'm now going to select the tail, hold Shift, select this neck piece, and then select the head. Now I'm going to select the body, letting go of select, holding the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm now going to hold Control, then press J. So all of those pieces are now joined to the main body. However, they're not merged to the main body yet. Taking a look. Okay, so we're going to select our body. We'll go to the triangle. We don't want to lose a bunch of detail in the face. So currently our triangles are 361,352. We're going to take this to 0.02, then press enter, and then we'll select voxel remesh. So that took us up to 1,131,842 triangles. Doesn't look like we lost really any detail. Okay, I'm going to select our mesh, right click, select shade smooth. Let's go to the upper left, go into sculpt mode. I take the hand to pan. I'm going to hold I'm going to hold shift and press B, then draw a zoom box. So this here, we'll press F, we'll hold shift to smooth this. Start smoothing that out, that neck piece. We'll zoom back. By zooming back, we get a wider view so we can smoothen this tail piece. Zoom back more. So I'm holding shift. When I hold shift, that automatically makes me go into, it makes me automatically use the smooth brush. On the mouse wheel to zoom back, holding the mouse button to rotate. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to left click to deselect the main mesh. I'm going to hold Control right select, there we go. Control as well as the right mouse button to select these objects. I'll hold shift to select here as well as here. I'm going to press X to bring up our delete menu, then choose delete. I'm now going to hover here, hold shift, press B, then draw a zoom box to zoom in. I'll roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. Okay, I'm going to select the main mesh, go back, select the main mesh, go to the upper left, then go to scope mode. And what we can do is change the proportions here. We'll use the elastic deform brush, which is fairly safe. I'll left click and drag up on the magnifying glass to have a smooth zoom in. I'm selecting the hand and panning up to have a smooth zoom there. I'm thinking I want the legs to be slightly thicker, so I'm going to shrink the brush so I can grab the one side of the leg. When I had it bigger, I was grabbing both sides. I'm able to increase the mass of the thighs like that. I can do the same thing with, well, maybe, let's see, let's shrink this smaller to make the ankle thicker. Yeah, that works. I'm going to press F, grab the chest, the head. I really don't want that head coming forward, so what I can do is I can hold Control as well Shift, draw a lasso, select around the chest area, hold Control as well Shift, and then I'll hold Control, press I to invert. So now the head is protected. So now I'm free to press the brush. I'm trying to pull the chest out some. I'll make the brush smaller. All right, I'll hold Alt, press M. I would like for the neck to be thicker, so I'll pull that up like that. I want the back to be thicker coming back. Pull this tail out some. Like that. Roll the mouse wheel back. I'm going to hold Shift, press B. I would like this mass on the thigh to come forward more. Too much, so I'll just hold Shift to this leg area here, stomach area. And then like this right here, I can just hold. Gotta be careful. I held Shift. Give me a whole lot of smooth, somewhat more than I wanted. I'll go to the hand, select that. Just gonna smooth this out here. Same thing here. Same thing there. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back to take a look. Okay, I find that the contrast between the hard angles and the soft angles adds a lot. So what I tend to do is look for angles like for the chest here. Use the crease to get a hard line, right? I'll use the crease to dig in here. And pretty much what I'm going to do is harden up the angles, and then I'm going to use the plan is to use the smooth modifier to make this not so drastic. So it's like I put the hard edges in almost too hard so that I can smooth them out. And you might sit there and say, well, why are you doing that? And if you're going to take it away, it doesn't take it away completely. I like the look. I think it tends to make models look better. So that's what I'm doing here. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm looking for bulges of muscle or bulges of, gotta hold control. I'm holding control, by the way. And I'm basically giving those pieces of mesh a hard edge. Here I'm not holding control. And here I'm actually going to go to inflate, and I'm going to there we go. Inflate these. Now I'll go back to the crease brush. I'll hold control on the edge there. Control here. Holding control here for the abs. Zoom back. I'm going to take the crease and add some detail in here. I'm now holding control, which I wasn't doing before. When I want to make things sharp, I hold control. When I want to dig in, I just use the crease brush. This deltoid up here. Deltoid, you basically have 3 heads. So just drawing in some of the heads, basically what I'm doing here. So I'm not holding control. Now I'm holding control. Kind of put like this hard edge on this one head. I'm looking at this head. Same thing. Holding control to put a hard edge in on that head. The neck here. You see what I mean? Like I'm looking for like where there's like muscle kind of like bulging, and I'm putting this hard edge in, and I find that it helps characters. I think I like the look of the characters. We're not planning on leaving it there, not totally. I'm holding control here. Digging in here without control. Holding control here. See how this mass here, like the back. So I'm holding control here, putting like that hard line there. I'm digging in without control here. I'm just digging in there, detail. Rolling the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to take the hand and pan up. I'm going to hold Shift press B, draw a zoom box here. Zoom back. I'm not holding control. I'm digging in between these quadriceps. I'm going to hold control and put a hard edge on the side of this quad here. Holding control here. It's almost like where you see like a just a almost like too smooth. That's where it kind of like draws my eyes, and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can put this hard edge here. Remember, like I said, the plan isn't to leave them, you know, there like this. So we have, you know, here. I'll dig in here. I'm going to hold control here. Dig in here, not holding control. Now I'm holding control. Holding control here. So allow me to put this sharp edge in. Holding control. Digging in here without control. Holding control now. Zooming back, take a look. Go into the hand to pan. Rotating the middle mouse to take a look. Okay, I'm going to hover here, hold shift, press B to zoom in. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back some. Okay, I'm going to hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I'm going to go to the scrape brush, change the shape of this here. Go back to the front. Go to the blob brush. Press F to shrink the size of the brush. Just add some mass in there. I'm holding shift to smooth that out. I'm going to roll back. Roll the mouse wheel to zoom back to take a look. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to go to the wrench. So the wrench is our modifier tab. I'll add a modifier. I'm going to add a smooth modifier. This factor, I'm going to change this to 1. And the repeat, let's change this to 10. Zoom in. I'll take the hand to pan down. I'm going to select the monitor so I can see the difference. Let's take this to 20. Yeah, to smooth, it smooths things out. However, it does tend to make things have a more clean look to them. So I like how it looks there. I'm going to select apply. I'm going to left click to deselect, taking a look. Okay, we have the general shape down, so I'm going to hand you off to my wife, Sue. She's going to take you through the sculpting texturing process.
Hi, this is Susan Arango, Ollie's wife, and I'm going to show you how to texture using Sculpt on his lizard creature, and we're going to make a brush to use to sculpt the texture onto the lizard creature. We'll make it in Blender. So let's get started. So in order to make the brush in Blender, we're going to open another version of Blender to use to make the brush. So now we're in our new version of Blender. So you left click to get rid of that screen, and then you select X to delete the cube. You're then going to hit N to bring up that panel, and you go up to where it says View, left click on View, come down here to where it says 3D Nav, left click on that to set up your navigation tools that you'll use later on. Then with your mouse over the 3D viewport, you Shift A, go to Mesh, and go up to Plane, and you bring in a plane. Scroll in so you can see what you're doing. Go up here to the upper left object mode and change it to edit mode. And then you're going to right click out here somewhere and click subdivide. You'll see the subdivide options come up over here. You left click that, and then we're going to click this up to 10. And you'll see the subdivision here in your on your plane. And then in the upper left, change it to faces, the face select. And then right here in the center is the pivot point. You click that and change it to individual origins. And you're all set up and ready to make your texture. So now we're going to hit Alt and E and choose individual faces. Then you right click and hit S to scale, and you're going to scale it in so you see a separation in between each to make the scales. Right click when it's the correct spacing that you want, and then you're going to hit P and choose selection. So now we're going to go top left corner, change it to object mode, and we'll choose one of the scales, and then we hit Control I to invert the selection, and then we're going to hit X to delete, and that deletes the inside pieces. So now what you have left looks like the scales that you would need to use on the lizard creature. So you click on the scales, go up to where it says object mode and change it to edit mode. Click A to select everything. And then right click and hit subdivide. And then E, Z, 0.04. And left click to lock that in. And then you go back to edit mode and change it to object mode, and then you go to the wrench on the right hand side, click add modifier, subdivision surface, and then right click and change it to shade smooth. Okay, so now we're ready to render out our image, but we have to set it up first. So we're going to go to top view, hit Shift A and bring in a camera, and you'll see the camera right there. Then you're going to switch to right, scroll back a little bit to give yourself room. Over on the left you'll see the move tool. You click that, it'll give you your navigation arrows. You pull the camera up, and then we're going to click the camera and we see this. So that's okay, but it's not exactly what we need. So we're going to go over here to the right. In this setting, you go down to where it says film and you click transparent. So when you render out, the background is transparent because you don't want to see that. Then you're going to go to the next one down and you're going to go to your resolution and change it to 1000 and 1000. And then we're going to click the camera down here, the green camera, and we're going to change the type to orthographic. And then holding shift, you're going to slide the orthographic scale up and down until you get it to fit your screen. So you hold shift, and sliding it that way makes it smaller. We're going to slide it this way to make it bigger, and you want it to get just to the very edge. Leave a slight black around the edge there, because when you texture onto the lizard creature, anything white is going to be raised up and anything black is going to be pushed down. So you don't want to leave too much in between there so your edges fit together nicely. So then we're going to go up to the top here, and these two the balls up here, you're going to click that off, and then you're going to go to the left hand side where it says view. Click that, go down to viewport render image, click it, and you should see your scales rendered on a transparent background. And before you X out of here anything, you want to go to image and click Save As, and you want to name it, put it wherever it is you want to save it as. We'll call it Scales and click Save. So now we're going to put our scales that we made onto our lizard creature. So we're back in our original version of Blender. So we have to set up the lizard creature so he has enough geometry in order to have the scales sculpted onto him correctly. So first you make sure you're in object mode, select the creature, and if you look at the bottom here, it tells you how many polygons he has. Right now he has 1,129,000, so we need more than that. So we're going to come over here to the green triangle, and we're going to voxel remesh. So you make sure voxel is selected. In the size, you click 0.05, and then you hit voxel remesh. You'll see a slight change to the lizard creature over here. If you look down, it brought it down to 202,000. So like I said, we need more than that. So we're going to go to the wrench, click Add Modifier, and we're going to add a multi-resolution modifier. Once you have that, you're going to click Subdivide once. And if you watch your polygon count, it'll jump to 771,000 or thereabouts. You click Subdivide again, and it jumps up to 3 million. Now if you click Subdivide again, it jumps up to 12 million, which is a lot of polygons, and it'll give you a super smooth sculpt. If your computer can't handle the 12 million, you go to Preview, click the arrow to take it back down to 2, and do it at the 3 million. So we're going to try it at the 3 million just to see how it works out at the moment. So as a side note, with the power of the computer and the polygon counts and getting a smooth sculpt, Ali discovered through much trial and error that reducing the resolution on the monitor or monitors that you're using will help to increase your available computer power. So we have 4K monitors that we use. There's 2 hooked up to the computer that I'm on now. And we were wondering why, when we didn't have a ridiculous amount of, or we did have a ridiculous amount of polygons, we weren't getting a smooth sculpt. So Ali figured out that by turning the monitors down to 1280 by 720, that it freed up enough computer power to enable us to be able to do the smooth sculpts on the different characters. So sometimes we use just the one monitor and don't even have the other one on at all, and reduce the resolution down to the 1280 by 720, and it seems to help with being able to use a higher polygon count and get a smooth sculpt. So that's just a side note. If your computer is struggling with some of the things you're asking it to do, you can try that. So for clarification, the computer that I'm texturing on right now is set to 1920 by 1080 in order to allow us to have enough polygons to do a smooth sculpt. All right, so now we're ready to sculpt our textures on. He's all set up and ready to go. So with him selected, you come up to the upper left and choose Sculpt Mode. And once you're in Sculpt Mode, it'll give you different options of brushes over here on the left. Each one does something different. For what we're going to do, you choose the top one, which is the Draw brush. To load your texture in, which is the brush that we created in Blender, you go to the right down to the checkerboard. Click that, you'll see New. Click New, and then you click Open. You find the texture that you want to use to sculpt. You click that, click Open Image, and your texture comes in like that. So once you have your texture loaded, if you hold F, you'll be able to see your texture there, and you slide your mouse in and out to size it to the size you want to use. If you hold Control F, it'll allow you to angle your texture to whatever angle you want it to be. You also can go to the top where it says texture and put the angle in here as well for a specific thing, but using Control F is probably the best way to go. So you can also switch this tiled to area plane before you get started. So another thing to keep in mind is when you need to move your object, if you hold down Shift and the middle mouse button, it allows you to move it around like this. If you hold Control and the middle mouse button and push your mouse, it allows you fine movements in and out. And just holding your mouse button, middle mouse button down, allows you to turn it like this. And what you have to remember when you're doing this is if you click and you get the texture like that, and then you move your character backwards or forwards, and you click again, your texture is going to be different because you changed the perspective of the brush. So we'll hit Control Z to go backwards. And when you use Control Z in sculpt mode, I noticed that it may be because of the high poly count, I'm not sure, but it takes you back almost too far sometimes. So I have to keep checking my settings. So I'm going to change that back to area plane, and if you see over here, it took the texture away. I'm not sure why it does that. I think it's because of the high poly count that the computer just can't remember everything. So we're going to slide in and come down like this. And like I said, if you push F, you'll be able to see. And if you push Control F, it'll give you the angle that you want. So if you're happy with that, your strength up here, you can adjust that however you want. We'll go a little bit lighter up here. And then you just very methodically and tediously go around and put in all the different textures that you want in the directions you want them to go. And if you get very meticulous about it like I do, you want everything to line up properly. So you just move it until you get it exactly where you want it and exactly the angle you want it, and just Control Z. And if you just do the Control Z once, it doesn't give you too much of a problem as far as erasing everything. It's just when you do it multiple times, it tends to act up a little bit. So this part is pretty tedious, but somehow satisfying at the same time. So you just keep going, and I'm going to try to just do it so you can see what it looks like without going too crazy and trying to get it perfect. Also, so you know, up here in the top right above the controls here, I have X selected, and that's why it's doing it on both sides. So it gives you the symmetry of doing the X. If you don't want that, just uncheck the X, and when you do one side, it won't do it on the other side. But if what you're doing to save time, you can do both sides at the same time. So you just continue to click and add your texture where you want it. And just make fine adjustments here and there as far as the angle and the size. When you have the symmetry on and you do the center, it does things like that. So sometimes that can look cool. Sometimes, you know, you may not want it to look that way. The other thing to remember when you're sculpting like this is if you click and drag, it does that, which, you know, doesn't look exactly like what the texture is that we want. So I don't recommend clicking and dragging too often. Sometimes, you know, you get happy accidents and it looks halfway decent, but so you just continue to click. Yeah, it's not lined up. But you can just spend a lot of time getting it just right. And just pay attention to how far you are, or, you know, far away or close you are. Makes it bigger or smaller. So just constantly move in and out, turn it around, check it, and see how it's stretching here down the side. So if you don't want that, you can choose the smooth brush over here and smooth that out. And or you can try and hide it with texture over it like that. So when you get up near the face, we have to make it much smaller. And this is where the high poly count comes in, because you want it to be smooth. If you don't have enough polygons, it'll look very jagged and pixelated looking. And then you know that you don't have enough polygons to make it look good. So you just keep going around and changing your angles and changing the size. And that's why I have the X thing on, because it just takes so long to do this that it's better to just have it do both sides at the same time. But if whatever it is you're working on, you know, you can't do that, then you just have to remember you have to do the other side. But this texture does a good job of making it look like the lizard creature's scales would look. And like I said, having the X on is why it's doing that in the center there. So if you can get it to look right like it does here, sometimes it lines up right, but if you just Control Z and go back and forth, you can get it to look the way that you want it to. So basically the rest of this is just going around and applying your texture, applying your sculpt everywhere that you want it. And you can take a really long time to do it, or you can do it really quick like I'm doing right now. It's driving me crazy that they're not matching up, but it's just so you have an idea of how to do this and how it will look. If you need to change your texture during this, if you have something else you want to use on a certain part of the model, you just go over to the right where the file is, click file and open your new texture, load it in, and as soon as you do that, when you push F to see the size, you'll automatically see your new texture loaded in there, and you can just start texturing with that. It works the same way as far as the size with F and Control F for the angle, no matter what texture you have loaded. So you don't have to worry about that, but changing your textures is very easy. And you can use as many textures as you want on it. Ali and I have made several in Blender that we use for different things that I think he's going to put on the website so you have access to them. But you just keep going along and applying the textures and change your angle and your size as you need to. So right here in the center, like I said, because the X is on, it does that interesting little shape there. And just turn off X if you don't want it to do that. We'll leave that big stuff there on the back of the arm just for, so it looks a little different. And once he has some color on him, he'll look even better. Because this color is kind of uniform. So, and now because the tail is so large, we're going to scroll back and we'll make the texture a little bit bigger. Maybe make sure the angle's kind of diamond shaped. We're going to use the X. So it kind of gives it a interesting look, a little bit of a design to it. And we'll do the underside as well. And we'll make this smaller. And that just about covers them for the most part. A couple of the other options that you have at the top here that I've tried a little bit to figure it out. Under stroke, these you can change. These work the same as they do for texture painting, the line and the drag dot and all of that. They work fairly well and work just like when you're in texture painting. The fall off, however, is kind of like in texture painting. And if you change these try these different things, it'll give you slightly different ways that the brush interacts with the edges of this blue circle. So I haven't figured it out enough to explain it, but there are options up here to have it sharper, smoother, have it not go all the way to the edge, go past the edge, And depending upon what you're doing, it could give you a different result from just using the standard default settings. But that's the creature with very, very, very quick textures on, and we made the texture, so we made the model, we made the texture, so all of none of that was taken off of the internet, so you can truly call it your own.
Okay, I'm back. This is done for the most part. However, I did want to show you how we can easily put some color onto this lizard character mesh. Okay, most of the time when I make things in Blender, I think of animating them in the future, putting rigs in them, animating them. The reason why I'm saying that is typically if you want to put color onto a character you're working on in Blender, the way it goes in my mind is you would, do the process like we did where we have this fairly high poly character, then you would retopologize this, you would UV unwrap this, and then after you UV unwrap this, then you would be ready to put your different maps on there. However, there is another option. I hadn't used this option before. Had heard of it before, hadn't really used it. Used it the other day. Was extremely impressed with the results of it. What I'm going to show you is how to Vertex paint this. Works well, it works quick. It does not require UV editing. It does not require retopology. So yeah, it's a nice option. Even if you are planning to rig in the future, take this further, put UVs in, just to have a to have a way of seeing your character mesh with the color. If you need just color for cover work or just some type of picture and you don't need the character rigged, again, this is a good option for that. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay, so currently we are in sculpt mode, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to object mode. Just so you're aware, we still have a multi-resolution modifier on here. We have not applied that. What we're going to do now is we're going to go down to this green triangle here. we've been going to the screen trying to go a decent amount to use the remesh technique. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to look towards this Vertex Colors. We're going to select that arrow. We're going to select this plus button here. And now we have this color. I'm trying to think of what to call it. What this is, color, active vertex color index. So we have an active vertex color index here. Now you can change the name of this. When I changed the name of this, I had some issues. So I'm going to leave the name as it is for now. What we want to do is go to the upper middle screen, select shading, and then we're going to go to add input, vertex colors, and here's this active vertex color index. So we'll select that. It's attached to your mouse. I'm going to left click to lock that in. Go from the color here to the base color there. I'm then going to go to towards the upper left, go to layout. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the upper left to where we see object mode, and I'm going to go down to Vertex Paint. Here in Vertex Paint, these are the tools we have. There's not as many tools as you would normally have for Vertex painting. I'm going to go to this color, select green, make it somewhat darker. Okay, currently we're in solid view. This gives us a nice view of the texturing work that my wife did to this character mesh. We are going to move from solid view to the material preview view. So I'll select that. Here in Vertex Paint, we don't have a fill tool. I learned how to set up Vertex painting from the YouTube channel Wayward Art Company. So without the fill, now I learned about this fill from them. What you can do is you can press Shift K, and then the color that you chose here is selected, is applied to your character mesh. Okay, this next thing I'm going to show you really impressed me. What we're going to do is we're about to go to where we're right over this paint. What we're going to do is we're going to apply Dirty Vertex Colors, or color for Dirty Vertex Colors. And what this is going to do, it's basically going to put an ambient occlusion like color on here. However, it's also going to highlight the edges of our character. It really looks nice. So let's do that now. So I get a paint. I'm going to select Dirty Vertex Colors. If you look like at the leg, you can see like there is like an ambient occlusion. If you look at the chest, like right on the edge here, there's like a highlight. Really looks nice. Very quickly added a lot. The specularity is kind of hiding it a little, so I'll go to the shading tab. And then here is specular here. I'm going to turn that specular down some. And then with the specular down, you can see it more. Like how the highlight there and just the edges of the muscle. Very nice job. Just very nice, very quick. I'm going to hover my mouse here, hold shift, press B. I draw a zoom box here. I'm going to go back to object mode. Select the eyelids. Go to Vertex Color. Whoops. Wrong. Vertex Colors. There we go. Select the plus button. Go to Shading. Select Material. Select New. Go to Add. Input. Vertex Colors. I'm going to plug in this color from the attribute to the base color. Go back to layout. Go to the upper left. Go to Vertex Paint. And then here on Vertex Paint, I'm going to press and hold Shift, then press K. And now you can see I have that color on the eyes there. Now I'm going to go to Paint, Dirty Vertex Colors. And now I have that ambient occlusion-like effect on the eyes as well. Okay, and we're going to do that again. We're going to do that for the gum right here. So we go to Vertex Colors, plus, shading. We're in the material tab here. We select new, add, input, Vertex Colors, color from the node to the base color, up to the upper left. We go to layout. We're going to go to Vertex Paint. We're going to change this to something that looks like, it should for a gum. And then we're going to hold Shift, press K. And now we have that there. We're going to go to Paint, Dirty Vertex Colors. Looks good. I'm assuming there must be some way of copying the Vertex Colors right now. I don't know how to do that. I'm going to select these teeth, right click, select Shade Smooth, teeth here. I left click them. Now I'm going to right click, select Shade Smooth. I'm going to select these teeth here, Vertex Colors, shading, material, new, add, input, Vertex Colors, color to base color, layout, Vertex Paint. I'll select here. I'm going to pick like a yellowish kind of whitish kind of yellowish color. And then I'm going to hold Shift, press K. Now we have that as well. Okay, I'm still fairly new to Vertex Colors. We're going to go to this one more time. We're going to go to the upper left, go to Object Mode, select the teeth, go to Vertex Colors, select plus, go to Shading, run a Material tab, select New, go to Add, Input, Vertex Colors, select here, go from color to the base color, go to layout, upper corner, Vertex Paint, hold Shift, press K. Okay, I'm going to roll the mouse wheel to zoom back. I'm going to take the hand and pan. I really like the Vertex Colors, particularly the Dirty Vertex Colors. Okay, I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm going to go to Object Mode. I'm going to select on our main mesh. I'm going to go to the wrench, which is our modifier panel. We're in the multi-resolution modifier panel. I'm going to select the monitor to temporarily hide that modifier. I'm doing that so we can avoid lag that might come from such a high polygon count. I'm going to go to the upper left. I'm then going to go back to Vertex Paint. Okay, I want to add some color to the neck as well as the chest area. Before I do that, you want to look to your upper right and you see this XYZ. Vertex Paint, similar to other modes in Blender, has a symmetry mode. So I'm going to select this X to turn on that symmetry mode. So the work that we do on one side will be carried over to the other side. I'm going to go to the color now. I'm going to change this to a more whitish color. The strength is set for 1. I'm going to change this to 0.4. So when think of 1 as being 100%, So this is set for 0.4. So I'm going to paint underneath the chin, this center area here. And what I'm going to do is change this to 0.2. I'm kind of aiming, if you will, to try to get to near the arms there. What I want to do now is I'm going to go to more yellowish color. Now I'm kind of blending this in. So I'm going to go to the blur tool. Kind of blend this in. So typically when it comes to modeling and work, I like blocking the creatures out. I like, or whatever we're working on, I like building them up. Typically things like this, texturing, sculpting, texturing, coloring, I hand this kind of stuff off to my wife. This Vertex Paint, I must say I like this. Holding the mouse button, just taking a look, not just taking a look, taking a look at what we have here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the color. I'm going to select the color. I have the eyedropper. So with that color, what I'm going to do is take that color, lighten that color up. I'm going to go to the strength. I'm going to change the strength to 0.02. Then press enter. And I wanted to lightly add some highlights, like manual highlights. Subtly into some of the muscles here. Add something to the face as well. Hopefully you get an idea from this how you can use Vertex Colors. I'm going to go to the upper left, go to Object Mode. I'm going to turn back on the monitor so we can see the multi-resolution modifier. I'm going to zoom back. I'm going to click on the rendered mode. I'm going to select this light, hold shift, press D, right click will put some lights in here. Basic 3-point lighting system. To get a better look at this, I'll select the hand. When it comes to setting up lights, which I'm trying to get into more recently, like this is set for 1,000. I'm going to take this to 2,000. I'm going to select this light, push this to the side. Hold Shift, press D, right click. Bring this to the side. I'm going to change this light to bluish light. Zoom in. Trying to light this to give justice to my wife's texturing. And now I can see more than I previously could. How much light can do. Okay, something we can do for working with the light is, you look to the right, this looks like a little world. If you select there, here's the color of the background. We select this and make this darker. Makes our lights have more of an effect. Something else you can do is if you go to the upper right hand corner, you can left click and drag, right? So what you can do is in this window here, I'll go to the select here for now. I'll take this away. And basically you can use this window. I'll press the N key to take away that. I'll press, we have that tool panel. I can press the T key to take away that. And then basically what we have here is just left clicking to rotate. We can see a model there. However, over here we can still work with our model, with our different tools, being able to see them. However, we can use this to have a view where, for the most part, we see just our model. So like right here, I would like to have there to be more shadows underneath the chin. So see that? I think that looks better. I really like these icons a lot. I like how they allow you to easily rotate the view, manipulate the view in Blender without having to go to the keys. Just very nice. Okay, in Blender, if you want to have one window take up the full view, you can hold Control, then press the space bar, and then you'll have that window take up the full view, like you see here. Okay, if you are watching this now, congratulations, you have actually made it all the way through to the end of the tutorial. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. I really like how this mesh turned out. Really happy also to have been able to show you the new way of joining objects together using the remesh technique rather than the way that I used to previously, where I used to use the Boolean method. Boolean, I could still see having some advantages. For the most part, though, I much prefer using remesh to join objects together. If you guys go through the tutorial and make your own version of this character, I really like seeing the work that people send me. I got work from somebody not too long ago. They showed me their dragon, and it was a dragon they had made through one of my tutorials, and it just amazed me. One, how good it looked, and yeah, it's just amazing. You know, that the fact that you guys will go through. I mean, I know some of the stuff is particularly complicated, and just impressed you go through the whole tutorial, make your own version, and Also, I was so impressed that that looked so good, this dragon that I was looking at. Okay guys, this is the end of the tutorial. For all of those of you out there who like the videos on this channel and reshare them, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And for those of you who are new to this channel, if you like the videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.